I think that when you're new, your value needs to come in the realm of like being more open and be willing to like be more, I would say, like vulnerable about stuff and providing like a different perspective than probably the veterans have. Because I know with different things that I've gone to, sometimes there's like the newer person there that like they just ask a question or they frame things in such a way that you're like, I never thought about that. What's going on, guys? Welcome to today's episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. Today is Wednesday. It is the Mike and Dan Show, where I, Mike DeHaan, and my co-host here, Dan Austin, talk about real estate investing, business, and everything in between. And we are in October of 2023, and
lots of beer. It's a good month if you're.
I mean, to be fair,
drinker.
like we do live in great beer country where there's so many breweries, and as I have been going around to my, doing my typical date nights, going to different breweries, things like that. The Oktoberfest choices are actually very good. Usually my preference. They're abundant.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about local here to Spokane for any of our listeners is we have a. Oh my God! I just lost the name of the brewery. What's our brewery here in town that I just forgot it? Where we used to get beers
in college was Northern Lights. No lie. Yeah.
Northern Lights. No lie. And is the thing that surprises me about that is they've been around a while, and a lot of times things like over time, like the novelty of them go away. But you know what? They still, even like they're a big company now, like they still continue to bring the heat on some of their beers. Like I still always impressed when I get one of their beers. I'm like, that's not bad.
And we got lots of good places in town. I think we have like the third or fourth most breweries per capita in the United States. That
does not surprise me because we have that in like vape shops.
Like honestly,
it'll be like brewery, vape shop, and then like a pot shop.
To each other. I know. I mean. There's a pretty underrated food scene here in general. Like we got good food. Like if you're really into like super authentic like Asian food, definitely don't come here because we're white as all hell. But like,
no way. You got to go to the real scummy places where they like kick like the soy sauce bucket under the frying pan and just like scoop it out. I've seen this. It's like
that was at a sushi restaurant that was owned by not Asian people. Like it was a really bad practice, but that was a huge deal.
Yeah, they had like Hispanic sushi chefs because we're like, I think they're Asian. That's how people are here. They're like, no, this is totally Asian. But that's the truth.
That was a local sushi restaurant just down the way here. But we've been busy getting after it. We've had a huge sort of uptick in responses month by month coming into October like we normally do, trying to get some stuff across the finish line, but we've been getting some pretty sweet deals. We actually had a good sort of story of I would say like dedication to the pursuit of the lead with one of our guys here. We got a deal that came in and it was like a 7-week time of was a lead that came in on 7 weeks from contact to contract, and it was like 30 something phone calls, like 50 something text messages. Our guy got ghosted a bunch of times, had to like renegotiate the deal, and we finally got it signed around and ready to roll. And it was like one of those, as like a business owner, when you see the process like actually be followed and go through and followed through with, it's just like, love it. It's great.
Yeah, you got to stick it out, and like it reminds me of like how many times or how many CRMs or just whatever people are using to hold on to their leads, out there have deals in there that'll never become deals for those people because they're not following the process. They're giving up.
Absolutely. I mean, it's easy to do, especially when you're like a one person operator, which a lot of people who listen to this show are. Maybe it's like you and a VA. And you get these leads that come in and you call people and they don't answer. And you're like, you know what? I'm just going to go and like think around with my data and do other stuff instead. The things that don't actually make you money, but you feel like they will. And on this, like to start out, the lady ghosted him for almost 10 straight days before she finally answered. And then she literally just responded. The first response back was via text, and she just said, "I'm busy. Call me later." I think it was like, "Call me tomorrow." And then she ghosted for another 3 days before we finally got her on the phone. And then we found out that she had a massive flood in her basement and needed to get rid of the property ASAP. And we're like, boom, bingo, now we're good.
That's pretty slick. So she had a massive flood in the basement from the first contact, or prior to us
So
contacting her?
she engaged with our SMS marketers first, and basically all it said is,
Okay. And had a
yeah,
flood
well, I think it
after
was
that.
probably before, because the only engagement she had with our SMS team was, it just said, I really need to sell. That was all she said.
Oh, yeah. She was
Yeah.
in the moment, dude. That's why you got to get in front of people, though, right? Get them in the moment when they're emotional. That's why you got to follow up and you got to market
Yeah,
over
so
and over.
yeah, that's all she said, and then it got put into our system, into our CRM in front of our closers, and then he had to follow up with her for like almost 2 full weeks before she texted back, and then 3 more days before finally got her on the phone. So it was just a huge process, but it should be a pretty sweet deal though, because like we have it at 445 to fix up the damage in the basement. It's like about 50K, and then it's an ARV of 600 all day long. So it should be a pretty solid $50,000 deal plus.
Yeah, those are always good wins right there. Yeah, and like if you're listening and you think you got good follow up, or you're being too aggressive on your follow up,
You're definitely not. Like I don't think I've ever met anyone just between like our colleagues that also operate these businesses, or people in our instant investor program, or like in other groups that we've been involved in, where I'm like, you know what? I think that you're following up way too aggressively with these people.
You've never,
Theoretically it's
Yeah.
possible,
Yeah.
but unless you
Yeah.
just like have a problem and you're just like calling people 10 times a day, which even then, I mean, there's probably
Right.
like, I guarantee you they'll answer.
Well, if they tell you like, hey, piss off, dude, I don't want to talk to you, leave me alone, stop calling, that's different. And then if you keep calling, that's called just being
That's called
aggressive and
harassment.
annoying. But like, yeah, that's called harassment. Yeah. But if they're like not contacting you, there's sometimes a reason why. And so just keep getting a hold of them, trying to get a hold of them, and maybe they'll pop up for you.
But no, it's been good to see that come together. We have some clothes, we've got some different stuff, and I was able to actually walk an appointment last week, which was my
I know you haven't even been outside in a long time.
I forgot that the
That's a big
sun's real
deal.
thing with this virtual business. I don't leave my house. I only, I literally get into my car before I get out of the garage, and then I think the only time I'm in the sun is when I'm walking from the parking lot into Trader Joe's to go grocery shopping, and that's about it. But
And you could honestly just do Instacart. So you should.
I should respect my time more. I'm an entrepreneur. What am I doing
Yeah.
if I'm not 100%
Yes.
effective all the time?
Yes. Absolutely. Pay people to do that.
But no, it's funny. I think it was legitimately my first appointment that I've walked in probably a year and a half. And, it was a situation here in local to Spokane. We have some partners here that weren't interested in what this guy was serving up. So I went and met with them. And what's really liberating is when you have like a business that churns around enough opportunity that you can go into a seller conversation and like legitimately not care about the outcome, right? Especially when you're face to face. And very quickly I was like, I don't really care what happens with this. Like, I would love to do deals with this guy. And I think that energy just kind of like gets passed off to the seller. And all of a sudden, like, it's always like the first thing you see them, it's like, oh, are they going to be, they're worried about they're going to try and be sold, or like, what's the whole thing? And then I'm just like, I don't know, whatever. Like, let's talk about this deal. Let's see if it works for both of us. The tension's immediately zero. And it's actually very pleasant to do that, right? And so, but basically what stands with all of it is he has 5 properties looking to sell right now. He has 2 that he wants to sell on contract. He has 2 more that are fixer-uppers that he wants to sell cash. And then the third one he currently has on the MLS, and he has a pending offer. And if that one falls through, he wants to sell it to us because he needs to close it by the end of the month because he's doing a reverse 1031 exchange. But right, like how it ended was he wants to figure out the ones on the market right now, and after that we're going to chat and we can probably get probably at least 1 or 2 if not all of the deals signed around.
Yeah, and I think the approach to that too that makes it feel also less stressful maybe in the conversation is pre-qualifying the guy as reasonable, because you said, hey, here's the deal, man. Like, I need to be able to buy this and cash flow on it if we're going to do seller financing. If I can't cash flow on this thing, then there's no point in having the conversation, right? I mean, and he understood that. And so it's like, so at that point, it's like, how can we get you a price and money every month that works for you and works for me? And if there's no number in the middle, because he's proven to be somewhat sophisticated and also knowledgeable and understanding the situation, like because of that, like if there's no number, then you just walk away. Maybe he'll find an investor that'll pay more.
And the great thing about having a pipeline in having like consistent source of opportunity come through is if it's, you know, not going to be mutually beneficial, like cool, not for us, go to somebody else, as opposed to when you're starting out, it's so easy to try and want to like force these deals and squeeze these things out. And it's like, why? Like, I mean, you know, I understand when you only have 5 shots a month, you know, you got to take what you can get. But when we have, you know, 5 a day, like it's easy.
Right. Yeah, totally. And I always say, like, you can't like talk somebody into selling you their house at a bad price. You can talk them into selling to you, right, over somebody else. Like, you can build trust, you can build rapport, you can offer them solutions that fit their needs, but you can't like trick them or talk them into it or sell them on doing something that they fundamentally don't want to do because it's a bad idea.
You're totally right. And that's one of the things that I hate about like this current movement of like the hard sales coaches in these like wholesale businesses. They're trying to treat it like you're selling someone like cars or selling someone like solar panels. What I'm starting to see is a lot, there's like these guys, and they're all the same. They're always like in their mid 40s. They're juiced to the gills. You know, their traps are up to their ears, and they always like to talk about how, you know, I don't drink alcohol anymore because I used to be an alcoholic. You know, like everything is about family because I'm fucking Vin Diesel from Fast and the Furious, right?
Right.
And like,
I don't work with fat people.
If my staff doesn't have a 6-pack, you can't work for me. And you know, and they're always like, you know, focused on solar sales or like, you know, sort of different traditional sales. And you're starting to see an uptick in these followings amongst like real estate investors. And our model is different. You know, you like the transactions that we do, even though you view it as selling solar panels because you do, you know, 5, 6, 7 of these a month, or, you know, maybe more, or even if you do like 50 a year, right? Or like, let's say 20 a year. Most people will buy or sell a house 2 to 3 times in their life, maybe. Right? It's not like something where you're trying to get someone to do a transactional process that you're also going to hook them up with the funding to buy your fucking solar panels that are a scam in Washington State.
Right.
But like, you know, there's a lot of other implications that go along with that transaction. And for some reason that's getting ignored by this like beat the chest sort of sales trainers that are just everywhere on my social media right now. And I don't know why I can't escape them, but it drives me crazy.
Well, the algorithm knows you better than yourself.
I paused on one of them, and now they're like, oh, this is all you want to see is another ripped bald guy talking about how you have to...
I know.
How you know
seriously.
Yeah. Dude,
they're the same. It is the same, and it's different, right? You're talking about selling solar panels and cars, which are generally things people don't need to buy, and that is where people are like, they're trying to play on your emotions and do that, and I guess you could try to do that in real estate, but that's for a lot of people, it's shelter, or it's their retirement, or it's some sort of major financial burden or financial like uplift for them. And like, you don't want to, I don't know, just bluntly take advantage of them and try to hard sell them.
Right. Well, the problem is that when that method, it completely eliminates the key point about why the wholesaling business kind of exists, which is providing value to people, like being able to provide value to the sellers. And, you know, it's funny because it's such a controversial model. There are a lot of people that think it's, you know, we're taking advantage of people because we buy houses at a discount, different sort of things. And 99% of the time, the people that we work with, they really don't have any other options. Okay. And basically the trade-off is we buy a house for a margin, and we take on additional risks so that they can go and move on with their life. But with the hard sales model, it just kind of pretends like that part doesn't exist. Instead, you need to convince them to do that for some reason or another. Well,
and the whole thing that pisses me off about that argument that you just brought up is that it's like, okay, so think about some of the folks that we have to deal with and the hoops we jump through to get them to sell their house, like to get them to the closing table, to help them understand, help them out of their situation. Some realtor, and this is not a knock on realtors, but like some realtor, especially if they're young and hungry and don't have any leads, they're gonna be like, yeah, I'll list your house. I can get you more. They don't give a shit that they're going to sit there with a 180-day listing agreement, just delaying this person's issues, which is financial usually, or they're living in just such despair because their house is falling apart. Like, they're just going to sit on it, and they're not going to sell it because they're not going to know how to price it. They're going to not do anything. They're going to take a commission if they actually do sell it. And at the end of the day, they're likely not going to net anything more than they would have, generally speaking. I'm not saying that there's not opportunity, but the difference between what in wholesale with anything and why people use wholesalers for any widget or product they sell is because like we can come in and we can reduce some of the sales cost. So we're already giving some advantage there, but also we can solve a different problem, which for widget sellers, that's distribution. For our sellers that are in distress, it's like being able to take that weight and lift it off them and solve their problem for them, as opposed to just saying, I can sell your house, but I can't solve your problems. The only tool I have is selling your house. There's a whole litany of problems that we can also solve. So that's why that argument is just, to me, it falls flat because it's
for
just a
sure.
stupid
And what
argument.
we provide, we provide flexibility, we provide convenience. And the trade-off is less money, but especially right now with interest rates and the market getting kind of funny, being able to have a guaranteed sale is actually worth quite a lot.
Oh, especially because we've talked to people all over the country. You could have one house that sells, depending on your market, in like 30 days and another same exact house that'll sit for 180 days. Is your timeline need to be certain? That's not the way to do it, because right now, and then that's the other thing too, is like if you price wrong in this market, you're in trouble. Right? Because then you start doing the price drop, and then there's always one that'll pop up in between, a new one that a shiny object for the new buyers. They're like, oh, what about that house? This one's been price dropping. There must be something wrong with it. And now you get in this weird situation, and so the risk is a lot
now more
higher.
than ever, especially because people are feeling like they're making a much larger commitment than they were back when it was 2% interest rates. But
right, yeah.
Anyways, I know you've been getting some fun return to senders. We've had a good little, I would say, like influx of some sassy individuals who haven't liked our direct mail that we've been sending out.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my stack of fun ones. I must not have them on my desk here, but yeah, I was I got my first rock that was mailed to me.
Was it like a
I'm kind of curious. It was like a rock. No. So my daughter will walk around her neighborhood, and you can find these rocks that people will paint, and they look like really nice, and they have like a nice message on them or something like that. And then it's like you take a rock, you got to leave a rock kind of thing. So those are fun. She never leaves them; she just takes them. So we have a collection of really nice painted rocks. Nothing like that. It was just a rock like you would have got out of my yard, like a nice size one. Like they had to spend extra postage to send it, so they took the postcard, ripped it in half, and then put it in this more expensive envelope with a more expensive postage and sent the rock. I don't know why
what
they
we
did
should
that.
do? We should send them like a ton of rocks. Like actually like a ton.
Be like, yeah. Oh my God. You could totally do that. I know their address. Just call the local landscaping company. Hey, can you drop off a load of
at
river
this?
rock?
Like, oh yeah, it's gonna be, I don't know, $50, $60. Just go drop them off. Yeah.
I would do it. I would do it just for fun. Actually, what I will do for fun though is mail them 2 rocks back, because that's at least like not costly on their end.
We can do the Pythagorean rock exchange. What's it called? Where they do like you send the 2 and then they send 4 back, and then you do 8. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's
I don't think it's Pythagorean
theorem.
theorem. That's for triangles. I think that's some other math.
Oh,
thing.
Fibonacci. It's the Fibonacci sequence. Yeah.
The Fibonacci sequence. Yes. Wow, you dork. Yeah. So there's that one, which actually is that one. I am impressed, except for why they spent more money to do it. Usually, I get garbage. We'll send, like, I know we have a guy that here in Spokane that will just send us all of his junk mail repeatedly, which is fine. I think it's funny. One of these days, I'm going to catch him slipping, and I'm going to find his address. I'm going to send him a nice note. We've had definitely people lawsuits. There was another one that I had here that said what? And like they had like a conversation with themselves, bright red ink. It was like, what? You live in Washington? I'm never effing selling to you. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. Dang. All right. They were from
Texas.
Texas.
And you know what the funny thing is? I guarantee that dude moved to Texas from California 2 years ago.
California like 2 years ago. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally.
He's a transplant. A nerd. So yeah, those have been fun. I've got several boxes. I'm sure I could filter through the boxes. Those are just the things that get pulled off the top of the bin. So I'm sure I could find a bunch more.
We need to save all those. We can put them in the official Collecting Keys museum when we build that out.
Right. We should actually. We should have like what is that is the Metasphere? What is that? What it was called? What were they putting together? The Metaverse.
Metaverse. Yeah.
Metaverse. I couldn't say that. We could have like a museum and get pictures of all the stuff that we found on properties and letters, and like all the people that we know that have, I mean, we've got some friends that have found some wild shit, right? I mean, we found some crazy
DIY
stuff. So like we could
man.
have that one was like the first like, holy crap I've ever seen. And so we could have we could sell admission tickets, $1 to anybody that wants to go into our metaverse museum of
the worst
weird
idea I've
shit.
ever heard. I think it would be better if we just gathered all those things and we had a traveling museum that came to all of our KeysCon events. And so like we just set it up outside of the Airbnb. We just have like little pedestals where we put all of the memorabilia. We can have the James bat. I thought I still have that somewhere. I thought I did. I didn't get rid of it. I don't think. James bat. That was a bat that we found at a house that had the name of our acquisition manager burned into it with a wood burner.
Just coincidentally? I don't know.
Well, his name was also burned all over the house or all over the garage. So there was some weird stuff that was going on.
Yeah, that was a weird one. Yeah, we definitely come across some wild shit. Just in general, weird stuff when you walk into people's houses. But
I think of.
We are exactly 1 month out of KeysCon,
I know,
so
I'm
that's
excited.
pretty cool.
We're getting our merch and everything finalized.
I'm stoked.
We have our official slogan, "Don't be a square peg." That is going to become the motto of collecting keys.
Yes. Yes. We have a big like Airbnb mansion that we've rented in Scottsdale, Arizona, and there will be no square pegging.
No square pegging allowed.
No square pegging.
And the house full of
not a little bit, not even a little bit.
Yeah, all those 17 dudes better watch out.
It's a sick mansion. I'm excited to show up. Hopefully we didn't get catfished on the mansion, but we got that coming, or we got that. We've got the bartender for the first night to open up and have a nice little get together, little meet and greet. Got a lot of great, obviously, content planned, but it's going to be a good time. A little top golf in one of the evenings.
And everything going. I know. I'm super excited for it. I always know that like looking back, some of the biggest changes in business trajectory have been following meetups like that with different groups. And so I'm excited to hopefully be able to provide that same value to our instant investor community that's coming out for it. And it's cool because we have like such a good mix too. We have some of like the heavy hitters come out that are doing like tons of deals. We have some newbies that coming out that are trying to figure it out. We actually just hired our first marketing manager who coincidentally lives in Scottsdale. Did you know that? Yeah.
No, his
he lives in Scottsdale, so he can come out and get freaking marketing material.
Oh, sick.
For like all the stuff that we're
doing. Dude. Hell yeah. We got him to come out. He can help build out some a marketing plan while he's there. That's actually perfect.
Yeah.
Wow,
so it's funny. I realized that today when I was giving him the offer on the phone, and I was like, hey. So I was like, yeah, so where are you based out of again? And he's like, oh, I'm in Scottsdale. I was like, no way. That's perfect.
That is awesome.
Yeah. No, it should be awesome. No, I'm super excited for it. And with all things, I can't expect it to be perfect. And if it is perfect, then that means we didn't try hard enough, honestly.
Right. No, it really is just about the exchange of value with you. Like you said, there's newbies and there's experienced people that come, but it really is just an exchange of value between everybody has value to share, right? Because no matter what, this is one cool thing I found about like going to business meetups and conferences and those sorts of things where everybody comes there to get better. Like they're truly there to get better. Like no matter what level you're at in your business, you're still trying to overcome a problem. And the newest person that's done the fewest deals in that room might be the one that shares the one piece of insight that helps you think differently or gives you that third person point of view, and it helps you unlock the solution to that. Doesn't mean you're going to fix your problem right away, but you at least have the path when you go home to fix or solve that problem or to get to the next level.
I think it's interesting what you said there too, talking about like the one thing that someone shared. Something I found from when I first started going to sort of like masterminds, in-person meetups, is like when you first start going to them, you're just like kind of all consumed. You kind of get like church camp syndrome where you're like, man, I felt like I was just enamored with everything, and that sort of like starts to fade after a bit. And now what it turns into, honestly, is you go to these things, you pay significant money, and you're hoping to get like one or maybe two things that you can put into action and are kind of like, business changing for you. So for example, the meetup I went to with Aaron and Muchastegi a couple of weeks ago in August, a couple of weeks ago here in Austin,
September.
I made, two specific connections there that are connections that we have been nurturing since I got back that could literally change like the course of what our business looks like now. And those are people that I would not necessarily have met if I hadn't gone to that event, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you could have even had an introduction randomly through like a video chat.
It's not the same, right? Because you're not put into a position where you are forced to sort of like see each other's value. You have a mutual relationship that is now established because you're both have opted to spend this money to come to this event. And especially one of the guys that we're diving into, I can't share some of the stuff that we're working on with him yet because it's kind of in the works, but like that could very legitimately be something that majorly escalates the growth of our business in a realm that it is very complicated that we wouldn't even have known where to start otherwise. And he just so coincidentally happened to be at the exact same event that I went to, right?
At the exact moment when we were open to that idea.
Yeah.
We could have met that one guy 6 months before, but it's just like the timing, everything. It's funny. And I think too, going into these types of meetups, get-togethers with like at least one specific goal, being open that might not be the goal that gets accomplished, but at least showing up and prepared, like, hey, my goal here is to like learn one new thing about sales, one new thing about acquisitions, or make one new connection or something, whatever that goal is. Like, show up being prepared to do that, but also just showing up and being open to listen and understand like there's something different out there that you might not have known. Because otherwise, if you go showing up thinking you need the one thing and you don't get it, you're going to be pretty disappointed.
Well, and I think it's so important too that going to these events is not a passive experience, especially after the fact. I think that nurturing the relationships and being sure to follow up with people, like immediately following them while everyone is kind of on the same boat, is so important. Yeah. And a lot of people don't do that. They'll like fly across the country to go to a thing. They'll have a great time with everybody. They'll have like people like, oh yeah, we should connect in the future. And then they go back, they fall right back to their business. And they don't do anything. It's like, cool. You just wasted $5,000 and, a week of your time or 4 days of your time because you're now not...
Yeah. Get drunk a couple times.
If that's all you want to do, just do it at home, and hop on a Zoom call or something instead.
I only get drunk on players, dude. What are you talking about?
Players. Is that why we don't drink anymore, Dan?
Yeah, exactly. I don't even get drunk with myself anymore.
So, no, it's just such an important thing, right? To make sure that you keep in mind. And the funny thing is you'll go to these different meetups. 90% of the people won't do that. Right. And they just wasted their time. The only thing that you need to do to like stand out amongst that crowd is just like that one extra step of being intentional about reaching out and trying to move things forward with those conversations that you had.
So showing up to bring value, that's a really good question for a lot of people. Like, if you're going to show up, because you're right, it should be like you're going to go there with an intention, but also be open to sharing value. Like, what is that one thing that you can share? What if you feel like you suck at everything? How do you come up with something that you're going to share? Or you feel new to this group, like you're going to go to KeysCon and you're a newbie and you've never even done a deal yet. Like, how do you show up in that environment knowing that your value might seem or have a perception of being low?
That is a great question. And I think that when you're new, your value needs to come in the realm of like being more open and be willing to like be more, I would say, like vulnerable about stuff and providing like a different perspective than probably the veterans have. Because I know with different things that I've gone to, sometimes there's like the newer person there that like they just ask a question or they frame things in such a way that you're like, I never thought about that. Like, that's actually a really good point.
Sure.
And even though it might not bring them directly value, it could bring them value in learning how to explain things better, what's like ways that they need to approach staff, whether they need to approach different, people in their organization. Because if you're around people that have large organizations and you're new, you're basically like at the same level of what a lot of their staff members are going to be like, or any sort of new employees.
Sure.
And I know when I've been to stuff, like sometimes, obviously there are new people that go and they're obviously misfits. We've been to those events as well. But more often than not, if that person is inquisitive and they are willing to sort of just share about their circumstance or the stuff that they're trying to figure out, mutual value will kind of just come in ways that aren't necessarily expected. It doesn't always need to be like, oh, I'm going to teach like a mind-blowing thing to show value, especially when you're kind of an established business owner. A lot of the ways that you get value are kind of in like little tweaks or little changes in perspective that you didn't even realize you needed to know.
Absolutely. I like that. That's a really good point. So even if you're new, you can show some value.
Yeah. I mean, you just have to be open about it. Like, they definitely don't try and like fake it with all the
Don't fake it.
Dude,
I hate it. Don't fake it till
that's
you
the
make it kind of
worst.
thing.
Like I've been
Ugh.
to a lot of different meetups
Yeah.
like that where there's always like the one guy you're just like, shut up, like you're so full of shit.
Right.
You know, and I've been like that. It's real estate meetups, like
Yeah.
larger business meetups and all those things. And you always
Right.
sound out like a sore thumb. If you're insecure, just say you're new. No one cares. You know, most
Yeah,
of us were
nobody gives a
new like
shit.
not that long ago. Like honestly, like,
Yeah.
it's not,
Yeah. And everybody was new at some point in
Totally.
time. And it doesn't mean that they won't give you the time of day to help you out or to recognize the honesty. And be like, I appreciate that, instead of just trying to
Yeah.
fake it till you make it, which in that environment.
Which I think
is
has
not-
value sometimes, just not in like networking opportunities, right? When you're, especially if it's
Yeah.
like something that is, I would say like focused on your industry, because everyone there will know that you're a liar. So don't do that.
Start throwing out weird ass acronyms
Yeah,
and shit.
But no, I'm excited though. It should be good. And then, yeah, right after that, we'll be heading right into the holiday season as well. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. in the
Yeah.
next little bit.
Yeah, October's been a good month for us as we talk about kind of getting the holiday season. I think the question is like, what do you do in your business? And we'll be able to talk a lot about that as we get closer to like the Thanksgiving and the Christmas holidays here. But like for us, October will be a good month of closings, as it has been historically, just looking with what we have on the board right now. We have a couple in November already. What are your expectations based on the last, we'll just say like the last 90 days of performance in closings? And the last 60 days
The last
of the
90
year.
days of performance and closings have been fucking nightmare. Just because
We've had quite a few closings, but like we've had a lot of
so many headaches, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like we had a deal that was closed, delayed last week because the escrow agent, like the main lawyer, said, quote, "We've been working really hard, so I gave everybody the last couple days of the week off."
yeah. And then you know what? They still weren't ready to close
Surprise.
today.
Crazy. Yeah, so they gave them
That's
a
so
long
stupid.
weekend because they had a couple days off. Plus,
By the way, just so
Columbus Day.
we're clear, like that's not okay. Like when you're doing like contractual like work where there's like contractual obligations to the buyer and the seller to close on a certain date, and we have engaged with you as a company to meet those obligations, like there's like that's just not okay.
Like imagine if you went to the bank on like a Thursday and they're like, "Yeah, we just closed today." And you're like, "What?"
Yeah. Oh, you needed money?
Or
You need money?
you
No.
go to the grocery store and you swipe your credit card and there's a little thing that says American Express is closed today because everyone's been working really hard. Like it doesn't freaking make any sense.
Yeah. It's
You
not
know,
okay.
so we've had that. We've had just a bunch of different delays in like getting documents from various people.
payoff
We have
statements
this
is
one
always a
from like a
nightmare.
freaking HOA.
Yeah.
That's like we've been waiting for their
Yeah.
whatever document to release the current owner from their obligations for like weeks.
The HOA ones are interesting, especially because they tend to be most problematic for condos
Yeah.
for whatever reason. And I don't know why, but sometimes they're just a pain in the ass, mostly because like the HOA is like always a part-time person and they just don't give a shit about selling your condo.
Totally right, and they never do.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. They're all criminal organizations at the end of it. Sorry, my wife just snuck in, and if you want to see a little sample of one of the stickers, she handmade
What's
it,
the
so it's
whole-
not the real like refined one yet. But
Is
yeah,
that an
if you have
actual hole?
hole in it, and then don't be a square peg. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. Tell Madison I said nice work.
The don't be a square peg stickers that you're getting for swag at KeysCon. But I think they're cool. But yeah, anyways, we've had those delays with closings. Yeah, we've had like lenders missing stuff. We've had title companies screwing up. We've had, honestly, the easiest people in the transactions have been the sellers, which is
That
how
is
you
a
know
surprise.
stuff's getting weird.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Which is so funny with title companies. I know we've been like kind of harping on them a lot, but it's like, it's so funny is because there's less transactions going on, but for some reason, like when we were doing like a lot of transactions during the height of like 2021, when like things were going bonkers, like title companies were on it. Like they're just like, yeah, man, we'll get it closed. Oh, you want to close in 4 days? Yeah, we can get title done. Sweet, let's do it. Now you have 30 days and they just still don't. I don't know. It's just people are losing their mind.
Well,
out
it's
there,
so frustrating because they're like the referee of the whole real estate process, right? And like everyone can be there to play a good game, but the referee decides they're going to just screw it up for no reason at all. You know, it's like you don't need to call every single foul.
Nope.
It's like just get it done.
This is off market real estate. No blood, no foul. Everybody wants to get the deal done. Let's make it. Let's make it work.
Yeah, it's been super challenging. Even on buyers, like we've had real pain in the ass. A lot of buyers and stuff recently too. People getting weird, flaking out, like wanting to change stuff at the last second. I don't know. It is, it's always a challenge somewhere. It's always just how do you kind of like minimize stuff to keep getting things done.
So the question is, with the Thanksgiving holiday coming up, when do you market? I mean, Black Friday, you don't want to get caught up in all the ads showing up.
We've historically never paused marketing, and as a result, we typically do pretty well during the holidays. I know that's a pretty big temptation that people have, is they think like, oh, people don't want to sell during the holidays, so why should we continue marketing? Keep leaning into the holidays, and then by the time that the new year turns over, that's usually when your dividends get paid at that point. But cool. All right. Well, anything else there, Dan, before we wrap up here?
No, I'm good. Let's get out of here.
Cool. Right on, guys. Well, thanks for listening. If you guys want to come to KeysCon, or at least the next one, then you should go check out collectingkeyspodcast.com and book a call, and we can see if you would be a good fit for the Instant Investor Program. And then you can come and learn to do what we do and come to KeysCon next year if you're lucky, if you're still selected. But besides that, we appreciate you all. Please share this podcast with anyone who might find it interesting. We greatly appreciate it. And talk to you guys next week.